Hello, Heather Broadbent here, violinist and instructor at Online Violin Education, where I train violinists all over the world how to improve their technical skill sets for more melodic playing. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to find fourth position. Now personally, I love fourth position, but there's not one position I don't love on the violin. Fourth position I call no man's land. So if you've worked with me, you're familiar with this term. The reason why I call fourth position no man's land is because many violinists kind of just overlook fourth position. They just go from third to fifth they kind of use the fourth position as the pass-through point, you know? It's kind of like being on a bus and it might be a bus stop on the way to your other more adventurous places, you know? That's how fourth position is kind of like looked at. It's not necessarily a place where violinists stay in and feel comfortable. I always say to my students, it's really good to cozy up in the position. Once you feel like you're cozied up to a fireplace on a cold winter day with a book and your hot beverage of choice, that then you really know that position. But fourth position, that's why I call it no man's land. It's really easy to overlook. It's really under-taught, honestly. And violinists may find way later in their violin journey that they're insecure in fourth position and they didn't even know it. The reason why is it just needs some extra TLC, some extra tender loving care. So let's not neglect our fourth position. Let's get right in there and enjoy it, right? So I'm going to show you how to find it in case you're unfamiliar with fourth position. So the first step is to find it. Typically, you could find it if you're familiar with third, and normally you should be familiar with third before you learn fourth position, okay? But as far as the setup behind it is, if you're in first position and you play your fourth finger, okay, your first finger will go where that fourth finger was. All right, so I just played on the A string fourth finger and then had my first finger play where my fourth finger was, okay? So that is where fourth position is. So you have E, F sharp, G, and A. So this is the finger pattern with 2 and 3 touching, okay? So you can see my fingers there. The 2 and 3 are touching. Whole step from E to F sharp, half step to G, whole step to A. Okay, so then once you know where your E is, your first finger in fourth position, you can check with your open E. Make sure it's really in tune and listen for the ring, okay? And then it's good to find your fourth finger immediately, which is A, and you can check that with your open A to make sure that's in tune, all right? Now, the reason why you want to find your 1 and 4 is because that's basically your hand frame, right? And we need to know the distance between the 1 and the 4, because as you may already know, when you work up the instrument, the intervals get smaller and smaller and smaller. So the distances between your fingers are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So you need to make sure that you know the distance between 1 and 4, and you can really listen to the E and the A. And that's what's so wonderful about fourth position. You have a lot of notes that resonate with your open strings in this position. So your first finger and your fourth finger can be matched up to an open string in fourth position. How cool is that? Okay, but it does feel a little uncomfortable at first because, if you're so used to third and perhaps you're really, really used to fifth, you may feel just like, wow, like I said, no man's land in fourth. I always say with all your positions, it's so important to watch your thumb, okay? So in third position, your thumb, you have a third position home for your thumb, you have a fifth position home for your thumb, and you have a fourth position home for your thumb, okay? So the thumb needs to be in its specific fourth position home. It can't be in a third position home and stretch your fingers out. That's a big, 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 big no. You can't be in the fifth position home and smush your fingers down. Your thumb has to truly live in the fourth position home, okay? So keep an eye on that. Now, the next part of this video, I'm just going to teach you how to play a beautiful D major scale in fourth position, okay? So this month, Online Violin Education has just released a little book for D majors and minor scales and arpeggios in fourth position. So basically, we have our fourth position. So you want to find your fourth position on the D string. Okay, so now for me, I'm able to find it without doing any prep work. But if it's new for you, you can do prep work by shifting up from first and find that D. Okay, so you can shift that way. You can start from third with your second finger and shift into fourth and find it that way. Or which is what you need to do eventually, is to be able to find fourth without having to find it from other positions. So you can really truly know the home. You know, that's when you're cozied up to the fireplace, right? When you know the home and you could just check with your open D that you're in tune, okay? So once we're started there, D major scale. Now, if you follow me a little bit, you may know my wonderful formula. I always teach for 1 octave scales across the instrument. The finger pattern is 3 and 4 touching. So just remember 3 and 4 touch. So you have D, E, F sharp, G. And to put it out there for those that don't know, D major has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp, okay? So our half steps occur, our fingers touch, between F sharp and G and C sharp and D, okay? So here we go, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. So you see that? My fingers touch, so 3 and 4 touch, okay? Then we cruise on over to the A string to play E. We have E, F sharp, G. So now the F sharp and G touch. The 2 and 3 touch on the A string, and then the 2 and 3 will touch on the E string as well. So B, C sharp, D, E. And of course, when we play a D major scale, we end on D, right? We don't go up to E. You would end on D and go back down. So your first and last note would be D because you're playing the D major scale. However, I always like to add in that fourth finger or whatever fingers to finish off the scale, because when you practice a piece, you're gonna have to know how to play those fingers, right? We don't just stop at D in a piece. So you need to know how those are, how those work in relationship to the last note of the scale, okay? So it's up to you. If you work with some of my workbooks and books online, that you know I do like to take it all the way to the last finger so you can work it out, okay? So, to talk a little bit more about that formula of the 3 and 4 touching, that is a 1 octave scale. Whenever you start with the first finger, that formula works, okay? And it was a D major scale, so that's why we had 3 and 4. Now, as you know, when we got to the A and the E string, the finger pattern changed, but that's because we were continuing with a D major scale and our first finger was playing E, so the formula does not work. The formula only works if you're playing a 1 octave major scale. We actually did 2 octaves, so it only works on the bottom octave, if that makes sense, okay? So that's the D major scale in 4th position. So you can have fun playing that and getting to know 4th position, the distances between your fingers, and whenever you work on the scales, always come back down. Don't just practice going up. I just went up for the demonstration, but you know we just always practice going down. And it's a good idea to even practice going down and then going back up. So enjoy learning 4th position. I'll leave a link below for the scale book with the 4th position D major scales and arpeggios. Enjoy and happy practicing. Ciao!